Love things, won't you agree how the winter could bring dark as spring, hell on your face, dirt on the walls in the back of the place.
Growing up in South Dakota was amazing. I had the incredible privilege and freedom to roam in these wide open, immense prairie grasslands. Growing up in a small farming community, you really think that life is pure, and at times even boring. But there was something within that idea that allowed me to take the natural world that I grew up running wild in for granted, really. For so long, I wanted to leave. And now that I have, I find myself longing for my home and trying to make connections within what I study to one day go back to help highlight the importance of grassland ecosystems. My parents farm native grasses, but unfortunately, it wasn't just for the greater good of all native plant species. The prairie and its vast grasslands are so incredibly diverse. However, it's been a losing battle for these native species, both plant and animal, to survive in the face of monoculture crop development and climate change. I feel a sense of responsibility to these places because many times people can't or just won't see the beauty in the vast sea of grass because there isn't a mountain or an ocean beside them. I feel as though the ecosystems that I grew up in don't have a voice, and with this research and my further studies, I would like to bring light to that. Which brings me to say that my upbringing has sparked my interest and has led my curiosity into possible solutions to saving and maintaining biodiversity. This purpose statement has guided me to now look into seed banks for native vegetation as possible solutions to the problems at hand. For this study, I have developed the research question of what are the advantages and issues surrounding the use and access of seed banks in relation to grassland restoration. So what is land restoration, and why is it necessary? Since the agricultural revolution, humans have been manipulating the natural world for desired results for food productivity. These techniques allowed the human species to flourish limitlessly for millennia. The growth of the human population has had serious effects on the environment. These environmental concerns are exactly why land restoration is necessary. Healthy and biodiverse land is critical to the livelihood of animals, people, and planet. The real question is if seed banks can be the answer to these issues. According to Michael Fenner and Ken Thompson in The Ecology of Seeds, seed banks can be defined as repositories for the genetic material contained within seeds of agriculture and other plant species. Because modern agricultural practices focus on only a limited number of crops, seed banks have been established to help promote biodiversity and protect the world's future food supply by preserving the seeds or genetic material of thousands of plant species that might otherwise become extinct. Seed banks also provide a backup of genetic plant material in the event of wars, accidents, or environmental disasters on a local or global scale. Modern-day seed banks, also referred to as gene banks, are based on an agricultural tradition that has persisted for thousands of years. Saving seeds from one season to ensure a supply that can be used to plant crops for the next season. Seeds have also been passed down from one generation of farmers to the next. But as agricultural mass production has increased around the world, Thousands of plant species have been irrevocably lost simply because no farmers or agricultural corporations chose to grow them over a period of time. Daniel Schoen and Anthony Brown explain in The Conservation of Wild Plant Species in Seed Banks that the increasing popularity of the seed bank as a tool in the conservation of wild plant species can be attributed to a number of factors. First, seed banks provide immediate access to plant samples, allowing researchers and conservation biologists to evaluate them for properties such as sources of medicines, nutrition, and genes. Secondly, the availability of plant germplasm in seed banks facilitates scientific study that could provide helpful information for conserving the remaining natural populations of the species. Third, and perhaps most important, plants conserved in seed banks are immune to habitat destruction, diseases, and predators. They can be used to reinstate species into existing, suitable habitats where they were once present, or to augment the diversity of small, genetically depleted populations. However, this presents a barrier as well. Michael Fenner and Ken Thompson also highlight the importance of various studies in relation to the barriers of seed banks. There is an abundance of evidence that environments have shifted dramatically in biotic makeup and climatic conditions during the recent geological past. There is also widespread concern that global climate change is causing directional shifts in temperature and moisture regimes in many natural habitats. Gene frequencies and gene combinations in natural populations are expected to change in response. But seed bank collections are stored and regenerated outside that natural habitat, typically in such a way as to minimize genetic change. It is important, therefore, to ask how populations established from seed bank collections would fare when reintroduced into habitats that have changed since the collections were made. Basically, what this means is, if the seeds are stored over a period of time during dramatic changes, can they still germinate and remain resilient when they are planted later on, or has those environmental changes been too dramatic for those once native seeds to thrive in their natural habitat? These pieces of literature and research are all aspects I will consider when diving further into my methodology. The methodology I have chosen for this qualitative research will consist of a further literature review, as well as private interviews with 3 individual experts, where I will discuss and find themes in the information that presents itself. Depending on my findings, this could change the course of my research, making for emergent design. For example, will the future of seed banks be in land restoration, or will it be in the incorporation into agricultural crop? The product of my research will be a collection of audio files that will be taken during interviews, as well as a formally written thesis that I am planning to present with a piece of art that represents the importance of seed diversity in a landscape. I would like to have the piece be a landscape image completely made up of native seeds that will be dyed various colors that capture the landscape itself. I would like to conclude by saying that my childhood in rural South Dakota is deeply rooted in my passion towards further understanding ways to restore land, more specifically grasslands that are often overlooked. I believe in the importance of all species, and I am eager to dive into the potential that seed banks have in the future for fertile land and biodiverse ecosystems.